The following episode will touch upon longtime Mexican Mafia member Popeye Roman from the Harpies 13 Street Gang. On Wednesday, June 10th, 2020, the breaking news story revealed the official report coming out of Corcoran State Prison covering the slaying of Mexican Mafia member Popeye Roman, who was unceremoniously sent to Brazil courtesy of his fellow Carnales. Danny Roman was born on January 17, 1956. Of Puerto Rican ethnicity, he was known in the street and prison gang underworld as Popeye from the Harpies 13 gang. Popeye was committed to the California Department of Corrections in 1985 following a first-degree murder conviction and was serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole at the time of his demise. Popeye was made inside the prison system sometime in the 1980s. Until the day he passed on, he was the only recognized Harpies gang representative in the Mexican Mafia. Allow me to set up Popeye's contribution to how the ME connected in prison with Sureño convicts. Many of you are probably blown away at the notion of incarcerated prison convicts locked up in high-level state or federal prisons and their ability to successfully oversee and manage an outside criminal enterprise from inside a prison cell. States like California and New York are tremendously gullible to enterprising organized criminals inside their prison systems because the career institutionalized criminals are masters at manipulating and exploiting the liberal climate in these states. Corcoran and Pelican Bay state prisons were constructed in back-to-back years for the express purpose of separating the cancer from the general body of inmates. The concept was well-intentioned, and the motives were understood by everyone who desired law and order. Now, in order for the Mexican Mafia and other prison gangs to exert firm control over street and prison gangs, a clear line of communications is vital. When communications is disrupted, the crime machine gets bogged down. That is, unless an innovative template is created. Popeye was one of the early Mexican Mafia visionaries who, from his high-security prison cell, raised the level of criminal sophistication to a unique and innovative degree. Mexican Mafia prison gang members are masters at reinventing themselves. Historically, the use of female facilitators and dirty attorneys had been, and still remains, invaluable to conducting illicit business. Cloaked in the name of prisoner reform and human rights issues, we began back in the 60s and 70s utilizing radical Bay Area attorneys for many purposes, including the introduction of drugs into several prisons, using confidential attorney-client legal correspondence, and face-to-face attorney visits to transmit Mexican Mafia-coded messages, including execution orders, and many other criminal-related activities. Dirty attorneys, judges, law enforcement personnel, family members, and many other trusted people are employed by La ME and historically have been shrewdly utilized for criminal enterprise. Now we add the availability of cell phones in prison, and there is a real-time and amazing avenue of instant communication from the inside to the outside, and vice versa. The ME today possesses the ability to reach out and touch someone directly from prison, as that old popular AT&T slogan once boasted. 21st century technology allows these guys to conduct Mexican Mafia business at warp speed. These men can literally do more damage with one phone call than a well-sharpened prison shank. In 1995, Popeye was connected to the primary Mexican Mafia members who created the MESA system. The principal Carnales who implemented this system were Güero Sherm from San Diego, Sleepy Huerta from Wilmas, and Caballo Gonzalez from 18th Street. The plan, in effect, halted all Sureño infighting on California prison yards, established a vertical leadership structure, capitalized on the illicit revenue generated on a prison yard, and enhanced their communications. In the absence of an M member on a prison yard, you got to remember, most of these guys were locked up in Corcoran, Pelican Bay, and other security housing units. The MESA system was similar to the criminal scheme being installed on the outside, with street gang crews facilitating M business in the free world. While M members were warehoused in long-term security housing units like Pelican Bay, Sureños were the logical choice to execute the intricacies of a prison mainline. These M innovators were the pioneers in the cultivation and integration of contemporary and creative business models into the structure of the MS criminal enterprise. Before the MESA system, Sureños would write to a Mexican Mafia member requesting permission to run a prison yard as a llavero, or shot caller. It was not uncommon for numerous Sureños housed in the same prison to communicate with multiple M members and request authorization to run a yard on behalf of the Mexican Mafia. Mixed communications created conflicts among Sureños over control of a specific prison. This would be the beginning of the Danny Roman so-called Roman Empire, a control that would continue for well over 2 decades. On December 6, 2012, the DEA, LAPD, ATF, and U.S. Attorney's Office culminated a 2-year investigation into Popeye and his people. He was housed in Pelican Bay when the indictments were handed down, charging Popeye, his daughter VIANNA, Roman, and a total of 31 people. The case was dubbed the Roman Empire and revealed the ever-increasing use of women in the Mexican Mafia and their expansion into legitimate investments. VIANNA controlled a massive street criminal enterprise for her father, and the U.S. Attorney's Office seized 4 homes and 1 business controlled or owned by VIANNA, who was 37 at the time of the takedown. Also seized was $95,000 in cash and 22 firearms, and Popeye had $45,000 in his prison inmate account, which was also seized by the feds. Talk about waving a red flag. When you have trusted facilitators in place, including your blood daughter, with the ability and wherewithal to purchase anything you could possibly need for your prison comfort, why would anyone even need that much money in their prison account? Live and learn, I guess. VIANNA Roman, also known on the streets as La Reina or the Queen of the Harpies, pleaded guilty and accepted a sentence of 25 years in federal prison. The passing of Popeye places the Harpies gang in a position many Sureño gangs experience: the loss of their significant big homie. Like a baseball team that loses its home run hitter, there is an designated replacement ready to take over and receive the torch. Like others who vacate their thrones, Popeye's demise is in no way a reflection of the Harpies barrio. This is simply bigger business being handled at a higher level, be it natural death or internal purging. Let's consider for a second the stuff none of you are supposed to be talking about because it's such a big secret, but yet it isn't. The passing of Popeye was by Mexican Mafia design. This means the successor to the Harpies territory, we'll call it the Roman Empire, with no pun intended, has already been chosen, with all indicators pointing in the direction of a couple of Florencia 13 super bosses. Their names will remain a secret so no one violates the regla of secrecy that is supposed to be honored. Of course, you know I'm joking, but I won't reveal their names. Recent deaths, like Sana from Orange County, Chavo from Bakersfield, and Champ from Big Hazard, for example, produced similar scenarios in their territories, very likely producing some initial stress. Once the memo is sent down, the big homies have a very clear way of communicating who the installed heir apparent will oversee their gang areas. Rather than exercising loyalty, carnalismo, and criminal support for their fellow carnales, Mexican Mafia backstabbing, greed, and politics continues to be alive and well in the 21st century. Danny Popeye Roman was caught in his Corcoran State Prison cell and hit several times by his alleged assailant, who has been identified as Raul Alvarado, a 47-year-old recently recruited Mexican Mafia member, also known as Spy from Lenox. Whereas Popeye's daughter is 45 years old and has a release date from the Fed sometime in late 2025, Popeye was 64 years old at the time he departed from this world. Since his arrest in 1984, 38 years prior, he would never again see the light of day. May the Lord touch his family and reaffirm the ugly truth about pursuing la vida loca con los vatos, the crazy life with the fellas. Also, may the Lord have mercy on Popeye's soul. Amen.